that you never will, because I've been hearing so many people talk about, the weakness of the whole draft, and I'm like, well, there might be certain positions, but there's certain positions where it's like every damn player you look at is solid.
It's a ridiculously good draft. There's a couple of positions where it's not as good as the rest of it, but
Right.
it's a really good draft. I think there's a serious drop off once you get past the top 6 or 7 tackles. There's not too many of those classic big, Mike Evans type X receivers in this class.
No, just one early, right? And then the rest are like second, third, fourth round guys, maybe late second, right?
Yep. And what else? I mean, I think other than that, it's a pretty deep class. I'm trying to think what else.
I even have some guys that like some FCS and HBCU guys I see, and I'm like, that guy's draftable. That guy's draftable. And I have some kids that we coach, probably 6 or 8 of them now, that are FCS or HBCU coaches, assistants. And, they send me the film and I'm like, that guy can play on Sundays. They're like, we know, but I'm going to tell you, the team that calls a lot of these programs for these kids is the Patriots. Yep. They call every single kid that I know that coaches now that we coached is like the Patriots called and came and visited,
Right.
Some of them are no-name fucking schools too, So
they're at St. Francis, they're at Merrimack, they're at the hell. I once saw a Patriot scout at the freaking Maritime Academy.
We're back live. Okay. So which part? I was going through watching the video. Which part was the NFL film that they stopped it at?
Probably combine footage from NFL Network would be my guess.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
That would be it.
All right, that sounds right. All right, I'm getting ready to upload the link back to Twitter. All right. Hold on.
Patriots got so many picks. That's probably why they're doing their due diligence this year, but it seems like they do it every year.
No, they believe in small school kids in a way that a lot of especially ones in their own area, like they really hit their own backyard hard. You'll see them at Hanover. You'll see them at like I said, the Maritime Academy. Man, if you're watching kids at the Maritime Academy, you're really doing your due diligence,
right? And you have enough personnel to send someone, or have time to make the contact. Yeah,
right.
My probably one of my favorite guys that I saw is probably not going to get drafted. Brevin Allen from Campbell.
Oh, Campbell.
You've seen him.
Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that guy. We got 3 kids coaching there, and they all said the Patriots have called numerous times, but looks like, even though the Patriots got like 10 or 11 picks, they're like, looks like it might not happen. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all ready?
Oh, yeah.
We ready?
Yes.
Yeah, man. My bad.
Okay. No, you good.
Mike mentioned
So let's finish up where we left off. So we was talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Coach DC. You it sounded like you wanted to jump in there at the end towards about JSN as we wrap up. I'll talk about JSN.
I think it's he's a part of a larger point, and you guys can correct me where I'm wrong here, but it seems like the Ohio State guys, particularly at receiver, are just being uniquely prepared for every aspect of the process. So you talk about the combine and then the pro day. Of course, Ohio State's a professional football organization. That's what it is. But then I think their guys are also prepared for the NFL for some of the read concepts, the choice routes that they have to do, how they fit and how they read zones. I mean, and I think there's an even larger point than that in terms of receiver and corner. There's so much better training and earlier training that goes on with those positions because of how amazing 7-on-7 is now. You're talking about 6th grade kids playing in 7-on-7 national championships. There's better training. There's more opportunities for training early on. And then, places like Ohio State, they got great coaches on the offensive side that are training these receivers to make the right decisions. And I think JSN is going to fit right in, just like you said earlier, where the better fit would obviously, be sooner with a team that allows them to get in the slot and be the, whatever you want to call it, number 2, whatever, 1A, hey, I don't really care, but a guy who's getting less attention than someone else. But long term, I like the Robert Woods comp. I don't do comps very well, to be honest with you. Me personally, I don't think I'm very good at it. But I like Amon-Ra St. Brown as well, even though
Yeah,
I think
I like
he's a
that.
little maybe a little quicker than
Mhm.
JSN in a straight line would be my guess.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually like the Amara comp as well. I've even heard comps of Cooper Cup with him,
Mm.
just from his ability to again find the spaces in the zone, right? His run after the catch ability. And he did come in a little bigger than people thought, right? He was, he was 6 feet. I personally thought he was 5'11. Um, and so he was 6 feet, and that actually puts him more on the Cooper Cup train as well because of the size, the slot ability. But he can play outside if you need him to. But I think he would probably have a better career in the slot if he was in the slot. Um,
I also think some of these guys that are the smaller receivers, not really JSN. I don't want to digress too much, but there's so much conversation times. Can this guy play against press man? Can this guy play? Have you seen the defenses that NFL teams
mhm,
play now? They play quarters, split field coverages. The corners are off at 7-9, and they're
mhm,
reading quarterback. You're not. I'm not saying you don't see press man in certain situations. I'm not saying that, but
mhm.
some of the better teams in the NFL don't play that much press man, and certain guys. That's the first thing they said about Zay Flowers. I'm sure you heard that, Matt, because he's your
Yeah,
guy, right?
yeah,
You're
absolutely.
driving the train.
I'm
But
driving the train.
I just think it too often guys get pigeonholed, whether they're from big schools or small schools. Like, can he beat press man? Like that usually comes from people who really don't know what percentage of press man is actually played.
Absolutely.
What was it? 27 point something percent last year in the NFL was
Mhm,
press man of the
mhm,
snaps, something like that, right?
mhm.
It was a lower number than I'd expected too. I knew it was less than half, but I think it was less than a third.
Third down. I mean, is it generally what you're talking about?
Right, right.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's generally why though? Because it's the run pass, dynamic is removed on third and
Right,
7. So press
right.
man becomes a much more viable solution against quote modern passing attacks with quarterbacks who can read things. So it doesn't surprise me if that number is correct.
Mhm. No, that sounds about right. I've actually seen an article that had those stats, and that sounds about right. But yeah, it's a very small percentage. Um, so to dive further into some player profiles, let's talk about the two quarterbacks. Let's talk about Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, two guys that absolutely put on a show at the NFL Combine. We can start with AR-15. Let's start with A Rich, who came in at 6'4", 244 pounds, ran 4.43 officially, and jumped 40.5 inches in the vertical. I mean, good Lord, right? Like we're talking, this is a quarterback. Like if I describe those measurables, you would probably tell me he was an edge rusher or a safety or maybe a linebacker or something like that. Maybe a souped up
Move tight end. Yeah.
tight end. Yep, a tight end, H back type. We're talking about a quarterback here, fellas. Um, uh, Coach DC L22. What do you think about what you saw at the combine from A Rich? And
I
did
mean,
it change your
I'm
opinion at all?
I'm not a draft guru like you are.
Okay.
I'll be honest with
Okay.
you. I'm going to refer to the film. When I
Okay.
saw him against Georgia,
Mm,
I saw a guy who was now his stats. I don't think were great from that game. I don't believe he threw an interception, but I could be wrong. Of course, Georgia was up by 23 or 25 or something like that late in
mhm,
the fourth quarter. But I saw a guy who was the field had to feel like there was 15 guys playing defense for Georgia because 2 or 3 of them were in the backfield on every play, and Anthony Richardson was battling,
mhm,
escaping pressure. I mean, we've all probably seen the 2 or 3 throws where he's moving to his left and he throws the ball and it's inaccurate. But what you don't talk about is like the 2 guys whose sacks he escaped in order to even throw that incompletion.
right.
And I think first of all, going up against a physical, strong quarterback like that, my NBA comparison for him is like a power forward who can run. like like he's just was it 6'4", 240? Correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, yeah,
6'4"
6'4".
quarter and
Yep,
244. Yeah.
yep.
And ran a 4.43, 4.44.
Yeah.
Mhm.
4.43, 10.9 broad jump and the 40.5 inch vertical.
I think you're talking about a guy who, there's going to be people who don't like this, but he could come in and run an option based system if he wanted to. But
Mhm.
I like it. I like it more so like, you see my videos for Lamar, like use that stuff strategically. Use it
Mhm.
mid, late third quarter. Don't use it early. I
Mhm.
really like him. Was there some throws he missed? Absolutely. I saw 'em. Was there throws that Will Levis missed? You're damn right. So I don't hear the same type of discussion about Will Levis's inaccuracy as I do about AR-15s. And by the way,
Mhm.
he's got the coolest damn nickname I've ever heard for a football player. But anyway,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, one thing about Anthony Richardson is that, see, I used to play the position and I also coached. I think about what he can do to a defense in the fourth quarter in a game in December where your
Mhm.
defensive backs have to tackle him as like you just described. You're using him strategically throughout the game in the RPO game and letting him get a couple of carries. Not a lot, right? You don't want to beat him up like they did Cam Newton, but enough to the point where that corner who's backpedaling is like, I hope this guy doesn't take off. I hope this guy
Mhm.
doesn't take off. I hope he stays in the pocket. It's the same thing with Lamar, right? Like in
Mhm.
2019, when Lamar had his best year, you would hear defensive players saying, "We hope he stays in the pocket," right? Because it's a headache when he decides to get out, right? And it's not saying that he can't throw or can't do stuff from the pocket. It's just that as a defensive back, you get trained to cover. Like your number one job is to cover. I want to cover. Let me cover the wide receiver. I don't want to have to tackle this monster. You know what I'm saying? And coming out of the backfield, and it's 10-degree weather, and he's coming full speed, and I'm like, I got to make a business decision. I got to make a business decision. So he can be utilized as a unbelievable weapon, um, in the right hands, in the right situation, and especially he has all the arm strength that you could want, right?
Absolutely.
He can make every throw. He just needs to work on his mechanics, and the right coach can get him and develop him. I just think his ceiling is just unlike any person we've ever seen.
Those guys limit those. We know it from being Ravens fans and watching
Mhm,
Lamar.
mhm,
We get a limited coverage umbrella
mhm,
because of the ability of the quarterback. You can't play man free and rush four with a low hole dropper. Lamar kills that. Anthony Richardson is the same thing. When backs are turned and you break contain,
mhm,
what could be a 8 yard gain for a quote regular quarterback is
mhm.
going to be a 35-yard gain. Or,
Absolutely.
or or going to the house, and I like Anthony Richardson. Man, I'm as a coach, somebody who went against athletic quarterbacks, it was hell to deal with.
Right. I mean, we
Absolutely.
all saw the LSU run, right? And LSU is supposed to be a good defense, or normally is a good defense. And I mean, he went through them. I mean, it was frankly embarrassing. But and you did see a couple of business decisions, as Matt alluded to, where guys gave, I don't think their best effort to get him to the ground, but late in the game, he's enormous. I get it, sort of, but I mean, the things that you mentioned, how Will Levis seems to get a little bit of a pass. Levis has a tendency to, kind of get very lazy with weight transfer and, drag his arm across his body and, have his, I mean, he almost like a pitcher who comes open too early, right? So when he misses, and so he's had some bad misses, both of them have had some bad misses, but with Richardson, it's normally because he's rushing. It's the opposite, right? He's trying to go too
Mhm,
fast, often because he's got pressure around him, as Coach DC pointed out. They against the better defenses, his offensive line. I mean, Osiris Torrance, shout out to you, but other than that, uh, did not always do him a lot of favors. And then Levis has a tendency to like have that, his throwing shoulder is sort of dragging behind. His body's open up too quickly, and his shoulders coming trailing
Yeah,
through. Right,
absolutely. Mhm,
like a pitcher, like a baseball pitcher who keeps missing,
mhm,
wide and high. Both of them have some work to do, but you're right. There is a different tone, I would say, to the
mhm.
criticism one here. Oh, one last thing. He does not really embrace the nickname anymore because after a couple of mass shootings recently, he's trying to
Yeah,
sort of move on from that
yeah.
nickname.
I did
But
hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned it at the combine also.
I know.
But yes,
it's so cool though. It's such a cool name. And I mean, when you hear it, you don't even think about it in that way. But when he mentioned it, it makes a lot of sense.
It'll be on jerseys.
Yep,
it will be on jerseys nonetheless.
Especially if he gets drafted to a state where they have very open gun laws.
With the embrace,
well, they embrace it.
Right.
All right. So last before we jump into this mock, let's talk about CJ Stroud real quick. What are you guys' opinions on CJ Stroud? Coach, let's start off with you. What do you think about CJ Stroud?
He seems a little more balanced in terms of, being able to go from the one thing I really liked about him was they asked a lot of him from the standpoint of from one play to the next, the concepts were vastly different, and so I would say it like this. I don't usually use baseball comparisons, even though I played a lot of baseball and, but so I'll give this one a shot. He reminds me of a pitcher who never goes fastball, slider, changeup. It seems like it's always a different order for him, and that's a lot to ask of a quarterback. Like, we're not giving you consistent concepts on 1st and 10 every time. We're asking you to do 6 or 7 different concepts. It's Ohio State, you know what I mean? Like I said earlier, it's a professional football organization. But that's the one thing I noticed. Number one. Number two, I did notice a little bit of a slight differential in his arm slot when he's throwing the ball a little further downfield, almost like he was trying to generate a little bit more lower body into it. But I can't prove that or mechanically. I really like him. I like him a whole lot more than a lot of other people do. I think he puts the ball in the right spot. I think he makes quick decisions. He seems to be very prepared for the defenses he's going to see every week.
Yep.
And that's film study and that's coaching. I think he's been coached at extremely high level. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to contribute in the first year, unless maybe he falls to the Lions and they draft him because they're going to have him sit for a year. Nothing would surprise me with CJ Stroud. I really like him. I think he's a fantastic quarterback.
Awesome. Bill, what say you?
So I assume you're familiar with an artist named Sade.
Yeah.
Whether hits, smooth operator.
Smooth operator.
Mm-hmm. Everything he does is you hear the term raw thrown on a lot. He's the opposite. Everything he does is polished. Everything he does, it looks like he's done it 100,000 times before.
Mm-hmm.
He was unmoved, nonplussed. He looked the word prepared came up already. You would think he'd been to the combine 8 times before. Nothing about it, seemed to shake him up in any way, shape, or form. His mechanics are crisp and tight. Coach alluded to him. He has a good arm. Not a cannon, but he has a good arm. And I could see here's what I think happened. And this is just me theorizing. He realized that Anthony Richardson was also in the same group, right? Throwing. And so he said he wanted to show, okay, you threw a ball 60 yards, I'll throw a ball 60 yards. And I think that's what you saw, Coach. He muscled up a couple of times, I think, just to try to do that. He's got enough arm to make every throw that you would actually make in an actual football game. With some despair.
I'm not as good at my bad, Bill. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
I'm not as good at NFL comparisons. I was one of those guys who played basketball every day for like 25 years straight. So my basketball comparisons, that's my go-to. And this guy might be too old for y'all. He reminds me of Dennis Johnson, who played for the Celtics.
Too old for me. I remember watching the Virginia Squires play in the ABA.
Okay, so you got me beat. I was 3, but he's just you said it in a different way, but you said the same thing. Just smooth, unbothered by everything. And I keep going back to that Georgia game. There was clearly designed plays that the Ohio State coaching staff said, all right, if we get the ball on the right hash and we line up in this formation, we're going to get this coverage and we're going to exploit it. And they did. I mean, they should have beat Georgia, in my opinion. Yep. But going from that, there was also plays in that Georgia game where things were off schedule. And he made those plays too. I got nothing bad to say about Bryce Young. Nothing. I got less great things to say about Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. For me, and people don't agree with me here, if I'm drafting a quarterback, I'm drafting CJ Stroud.
Yeah, he's smooth. I've never seen someone do anything so effortlessly, right? And he just made playing quarterback look like riding a bike with training wheels. Like it was so easy. His footwork was so clean. I've never seen a kid that young with his footwork was just clean. Again, when I talk about Jordan Addison, I say he looked like a professional wide receiver. Well, CJ Stroud looks like a professional quarterback, just like the way you draw it up, right? And the thing about him now, he has everything you would want from a pocket passer, with a little bit of that mobility that we like now sprinkled in. And I just think that he's going to make some team very, very happy who drafts him.
My comparison for him was Warren Moon.
Love it.
Woo-wee. Mr. Moon, prettiest deep ball I've ever seen. All right, y'all. So you guys ready to get the drafting? Y'all ready to mock it? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Let's mock the mock. Let's do whatever we do.
ABD, always be drafting.
Always be drafting, man. Listen, by the time we get to April, there will be 6,235,4,528 mock drafts, and all of them will be wrong. So, here's another one for you. Mock draft Monday. Let's get it, draft nerd style. Before the show started, each of you have been given your teams that you will be playing the GM for. We're gonna go through these as quick as possible, right? But we're gonna still take our time, talk a little bit, but we're not gonna hold up too long, right? We want this to be an enjoyable experience for the viewers out there. And so, if your favorite team has a first round pick, sit back, grab your popcorn, and enjoy the show. With the number 1 overall pick, the Chicago Bears are on the clock, and Bill, you are manning those Chicago Bears. So,
Right.
do your best Chicago GM impression and tell us what you plan to do.
So my real Chicago GM impression would be him with like 3 phones in his hands, taking calls from a bunch of other teams.
Yep.
Because I believe this pick will be dealt.
Okay.
So,
well, who would you trade them with? Who would you trade with?
Well, I mean, there's a few different teams that I think want this pick. I think the Colts are coming up for it.
Okay.
The Texans maybe as well.
Okay.
And I'm not going to be shocked if even the Raiders got involved. I think there's going to be at least 3 teams.
I heard Carolina is very interested in getting up as well.
Carolina also, right? So he's got 3, maybe 4 teams calling him constantly. So essentially, it's whoever gives us the best deal.
So let's do a trade here. Who are we thinking? Chicago Bears, Colts, or Carolina? I think those are the most likely teams that would be super aggressive in getting a quarterback.
Right. And I'm trying to remember who has what picks to give.
Okay, I can pull it up for you right here. I have the simulator right in front of me, as you can see, and home viewers can also see as we're going through. So Panthers have 9, Colts have 4. But let's say if we did one with the Colts, they got 4, 35, 79, and obviously they got picks next year and beyond. And then Carolina has 9. And I think Carolina has 2 second-round picks. So
Carolina's got 9, 40, 62, and 94. That's the last 2 is the 2 picks from the 49ers.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So they got 9, 39. Yeah, they got multiple second-round picks, it looks like.
In the early 3rd. I think they've got to move somebody from there. I think they got to move picks from next year to make it happen. In my opinion, I think somebody like you said, Bill, about the Raiders or Texans. I think somebody else is gonna have more to use for this year than the Panthers do. They look kind of light. 9, 40, 62, and 94 doesn't. I don't think there's really any combination that gets it done.
Yeah, they're gonna need a little more than that. Okay, so what about the Colts? The Colts have, they're picking top 4 in every round. So they have 4, 35, 79, 106, and obviously first rounds next year and everything like that. I think y'all know Mr. Irsay will spare no expense to get up there to get that quarterback. They have had it. They have had it.
They've had it with retreads, yeah. So I think, and I do believe in the real world they'll be the ones that get away from the 1. That's my personal belief.
Okay.
So
let's do that. What are we thinking? So we thinking 1 for 4 and 35 in the first next year?
Right, correct. That's what I was thinking too.
So 35 and a 1 next year. And push it through. All right. Well, Bill, you also have the Colts, so you're still number one on the clock. You're still on the clock, and now the Colts are on the clock.
And this will make Coach happy because I think that they will actually take CJ Stroud. I'm hearing little murmurs and whispers that they prefer Stroud to Young anyway. In Indianapolis.
I love it. I love the fit, actually. I really do fit. So you taking Stroud?
Oh, yeah. I believe that's what the Colts will do if they do manage to trade up to 1 also.
All right.
So would you just do 1 for 4 from what we're doing tonight? Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
And then also the lower round picks in a 1 next year.
Yeah,
it was what 2? Yeah, it was the 30. What was it again?
It was 4, 35, and a 1 next year.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So CJ Stroud is the pick. All right. The draft is rolling, as you heard the little jingle. I'm on the clock now with the Houston Texans, and with the number 2 overall pick, the Houston Texans stay put, and they select Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama. All right, quarterbacks go 1-2, as most of us expected.
Yep.
All right, Mr. All 22, you are
Will,
on the clock, sir. With the
Will Anderson. You can't even get the sentence out. Will Anderson.
He hurdled you to get the pick in, Matt.
That was the proverbial run the pick up. Will Anderson is an Arizona Cardinal, and now Bill, you're back on the clock with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, so the Bears have thoroughly investigated the Jalen Carter situation. They've come to the conclusion that he may serve a short suspension, but it's worth it. They're going to roll the dice and take him anyway.
All right. With the number 4 pick, Chicago Bears are selecting Jalen Carter. All right. All 22, you are on the clock with your first of 2 picks for the Seahawks. At number 5, they just signed Geno Smith today. So,
yep.
What do they do here in the draft?
Yeah, I actually really, really like Boy Mafe and Uchenna Nwosu. Just finished a film study on Uchenna Nwosu about a week and a half ago. Really like him. I know that Tyree Wilson would be a pick, that they should look at, and it certainly doesn't make sense for them to take a corner. I really think they're playing with house money in the first round. I'm gonna be honest with you. The pick, I have them, QB, D line. If Jalen Carter makes it to 5, I think he could get picked there by the Seahawks for real.
Yeah, they run the pickup.
Yeah, they run the pickup. You're looking. I'm scrolling down my list here because I got the same list you guys got. There's just so many guys. I think you're looking. There's no guard or center that really interests me.
At least not this high.
No, I'm scrolling down my list here, and first of all, I can't believe Will Levis is ranked 4 on PFF that we're using here. No disrespect to him, like he's a Division I scholarship athlete. I'll take Tyree Wilson, even though I think it's going to be an interesting fit. I think his size is going to be such that they can use him and Boy Mafe and Uchenna Nwosu. But Uchenna Nwosu, shout out to him. He's one of the guys that's better than he gets credit for. So I'm taking Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech.
All right. The pick is in, and the Seattle Seahawks select Tyree Wilson. All right. I'm on the clock now with the Detroit Lions, the first of their 2 picks in the first round. And Detroit, speaking of a team that's playing with house money, this team is absolutely playing with house money. I mean, they are a year ahead of expectations when it comes to the rebuild, right? Most people thought they were 2 years away. I think they're now a year away. And what they're going to do to help increase the process of where they are, I'm going to take Christian Gonzalez, cornerback, Oregon. All right.
Love it.
The Raiders are on the clock, Las Vegas. I don't even know if we should say Raiders like that anymore now that they're in Vegas, right? That fit the Oakland gritty Raiders. This is now the Vegas Raiders. They're on the clock now at pick number 7. That pick belongs to. Does that belong to you, Bill?
It does.
All right. What are
And
the Raiders going to do?
Yeah, the Raiders could use a lot of things actually for a team that just 2 years ago was in the playoff hunt, or in the playoffs actually, I should say. But we are absolutely thrilled and excited because our secondary has been, what's the word I'm looking for? Challenged and did not often meet said challenge. So we have ability to start plugging some of those holes. So Devin Witherspoon, come on down. We sort of lucked into Nate Hobbs a couple of drafts ago. Another Illinois corner who ended up being our best corner. Now this guy's even better than Nate Hobbs. Our secondary is going to go from a weakness to a strength if I have anything to say about it.
Absolutely. All right. The pick is in. Devin Witherspoon to the Las Vegas Raiders. Hey, when you need a lot of things, just take the best player, right? All right. I'm up on the clock now with the Atlanta Falcons. Shout out to my boy Moon, who's a Falcons fan. They need a lot, right? As well. They could use some defense. They could use some receivers. They could use a quarterback. There's been a lot of rumors linking the Atlanta Falcons to my quarterback, Lamar Jackson. If that does not happen, which all of Ravens flock are holding their collective breaths, hoping that doesn't happen, I am going to have the Atlanta Falcons take Anthony Richardson, quarterback from the University of Florida. I think they do like Ritter, but the upside for A-Rich is just too good. And they take the quarterback here, Anthony Richardson, to the Atlanta Falcons. All right. That puts you on the clock, Mr. All 22 with the Carolina Panthers. What do they do?
Yeah, I was hoping you didn't take Richardson because that was going to be my pick for Carolina. I think it's also possible that you get teams trade up. To be honest with you, teams look up to trade up with the Seahawks or the Lions.
Okay.
I think there might be some teams who look at AR and Will Levis as the guys they would move up to try to leapfrog the Raiders, Falcons. I was just, since I'm in that position right now as number 9, the Falcons, or excuse me, the Panthers, I just envision that scenario. So I think that's possible. I'll take Will Levis reluctantly.
Okay. Will Levis. Bill, what do you think Frank Reich could do with Will Levis?
Well, he's actually got some similarities, not personality-wise, but physically too. Carson Wentz. Sorry. Well, yeah, Carson Wentz. Physically, not so much mentally, emotionally. He's a more open personality. He's a more. I think he'll fit in with his teammates a little better than Wentz may have. But some of the same issues too, in that he can look like a guy who is almost, like I said, he can look very, very polished at times. He can look very poised at times, and then it all falls apart at times.
Right.
So he's not consistently bad. He's not consistently good. He's inconsistent.
Okay.
The thing I would say about Frank Reich is that he will simplify certain things, give him the answers to the test, as I sometimes say.
Exactly.
Right. We're going to say, okay, in this situation, hey, we're going to make sure that you've got an outlet receiver, boom, running right across your face. All you got to do is look 8 yards in front of your own nose, boom, get the ball out. Right. He's going to give him a lot of answers to the test. So I think this gives him a good chance to succeed. He's a guy that I have some concerns about, as Coach mentioned, some of the same concerns. But I think this is, I won't say ideal, but it's a good situation.
Yep. Regardless of how things turned out for Frank Reich, in Indianapolis, I think that is a great spot for Will Levis. Like you said, I think he's got the ability. Another, watching a couple of his games in the SEC, I saw a guy who competes. And the running and some of the moves surprised me. I don't expect that to be a major part of Carolina's game plan if he goes there at 9, but I think they would settle on him, but I think they would prefer to have Anthony Richardson.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that being said, good luck, Will Levis in Carolina. We're moving on now to number 10 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that pick is being housed by Mr. Bill. What does the Eagles do at 10? Imagine playing in the Super Bowl, right, and then having a top 10 pick.
The Eagles are a very, very happy organization because they're going to be forced to move on from some of their best defensive players just due to salary cap issues. But just as some great talented players leave, they have some great talent coming in. Brian Bresee, the defensive tackle from Clemson, is going to slide right into that interior defensive line rotation where they're about to lose either one or both of between Hargrave and or Cox. One of those guys they can't afford to keep. So guess what? Boom, they've got a replacement already. And Jordan Davis, of course, is young and cheap as well.
All right, Brian Bresee to the Philadelphia Eagles. That now pits Mr. All 22 on the clock with the Tennessee Titans, who just gave away all their players today. Like they just
Yeah.
they just went on a cut spree and just, I mean, they started with Robert Woods and Taylor Lewan, and today Bud Dupree and even Derrick Henry is on a trading block. So yeah, they are having a fire sale in Tennessee. I'm not sure what the they tearing it down to rebuild. I'm not really sure, but you have their pick, and what do the Titans do, Mr. All 22?
I mean, I think they've got there's two guys that to me fit their culture in terms of Vrabel is that's Brian Branch and Joey Porter. But I'm not drafting one of them. But I just want to mention that in terms of a fit for the way the Titans play. Look, I'm a Ravens fan, and we're supposed to hate each other, but I just absolutely respect and love how they play and how physical they are defensively. Having said that, they're either drafting a tackle or a receiver here. In my opinion, they have to. They have to. And I think that even as enticing as it is for me to take Quentin Johnston or JSN here, I think that they're either going to, in this position, they would either go with Skoronski, the guy from Northwestern, or even Paris Johnston from Ohio State. I don't share concerns as with many other people that are like, oh, this guy played in a gap scheme and that's their zone team or whatever. NFL teams run all that shit. So I don't ever get concerned about that stuff. I'm going to take a little bit earlier than some people have him mocked. I'm going to take Paris Johnson from Ohio State.
I love it.
And Vrabel loves the Ohio State kids for obvious reasons. So yeah, it makes
exactly.
All right. So Houston Texans are back on the clock. They got their quarterback with Bryce Young at number 2, and then they're back on the clock. And I have them. And they could definitely use a wide receiver, but they could also use some protection for that young quarterback. They could also use some defense. I'm looking at the board, and I'm also thinking, okay, they got the quarterback, but they also just hired a defensive-minded head coach who is going to want to build a defense in his own image, right? He's going to want to create something that he had, right? As head coaches, and you can back me up with this, coach, you play to your strength, right? Right?
Yeah, and I think your team generally becomes a reflection of your personality in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. So last year they took Stingley. Last year they got Petrie. They got a couple of guys. But they're really lacking that edge player. And this guy blew up the combine, had everybody talking and sparking. With the 12th pick, the Houston Texans take Nolan Smith, edge rusher, Georgia. All right. That brings us to the Jets, Jets. All right. They've been linked to every quarterback known to man. Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, you name them. They have been linked to all of them.
Hey, here's who I think they actually end up getting amongst the mid-price veterans. Watch out for Jameis to sneakily maybe pop up there.
Yes. I love Jameis, actually. I'm a big fan of Jameis. Some people don't, but whatever.
There's no reason why they can't win games with the talent they have there and the picks that they've got this year with I don't want to say any veteran quarterback, but anyone who's been through the gauntlet that he has or others, Derek Carr included. There's no reason why they can't win games. Hell, they had games last year with Joe Flacco.
Right. Right. And Mike White, right? So
exactly.
One thing they did struggle with was offensive line, right? Mekhi Becton just did not pan out, right? Always injured. Then they went out on the streets and got Dwayne Brown for a year. I don't think he's the long-term answer there. And
38 or something. He can't be a long-term answer.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so they have a guy, in their front office, right? That came from my front office. Well, he came from my organization, right? The Baltimore Ravens. And I kind of think I know the way they think, and he's a guy who's just going to draft solid players. So with the 13th pick, the New York Jets select Peter Skoronski, tackle from Northwestern. Mm-hmm. All right, that will put Coach. You're on the clock now with the New England Patriots.
Well, the Patriots have so many damn picks in this draft, if I remember correct. I think they got like 10 or 11 or 12 picks. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, I think they're going to go with athletes that are obviously smart. They've got their checklist of things that they want. As crazy as it sounds for me, I'm thinking they go receiver here. I understand that that's not their needs, and they have correct me if I'm wrong. Myers is gone, right?
He's a free agent.
They signed Devontae. What I don't. Yeah, I'm saying I don't think they re-signed him. Right.
Right.
All right. Devontae Parker, I think they signed for a 2-year deal, and he played well when he was on the field last year. I thought.
Right.
I don't think that this guy gets much further than this, but for me, and I really like Quentin Johnston. I'm gonna take JSN to the Patriots.
All right, JSN.
And I don't think that's one of their verified needs at this point. But just as my personal observation, I think they need somebody who's a professional receiver, and they've been able to take advantage of those things in the past, at least when they had Tom Brady.
All right, awesome. I like the pick. I like the fit. Now with Billy O coming back, I think he'll be able to use JSN really good. Also, they drafted Speedster from Baylor last year, so those two guys would pair well together.
Thornton, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. All right, Bill, you're on the clock with the Green Bay Packers at 15.
So, after many years of people complaining about them never taking a first-round wide receiver, finally they take a first-round wide receiver, Quentin Johnston from TCU.
All right.
You pair him with Mr. Watson, and now you've got a speed Z, big, strong X combination that it creates problems for teams that want to try to take away the big play threats.
Exactly.
I like it. All right. Bill, you're back on the clock with the Commanders at 16.
And another team that can use some of everything. They have a pretty strong defense, but one of the weaknesses of that strong defense is still they don't have the world's best corners. For those who hadn't heard. And guess what? It's a great year to pick corners. So let's pick a corner, kids. There's so many I like, but I have to choose one. So I'm going to choose Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State.
All right. Awesome. All right. Joey Porter Jr. goes up the road 45 minutes away from Baltimore to the Commanders to help add to that very impressive defense. Bill, you're on a roll here because you're on the clock again with the Pittsburgh Steelers, your actual team that you root for.
Grew up rooting for, yes.
Absolutely.
So this is a team that also, despite being a team that just missed the playoffs, actually has a lot of needs in many different places. But there's a value that's there, sort of staring us in the face. So though it's not at all our greatest need, and I will be actually a little bit nauseous if this is what actually happens, but I think this would happen if that player was still on the board. Myles Murphy, the sort of working class man's Trayvon Walker from out of Clemson. And he's a highly intelligent player. He's a guy that's played multiple positions all up and down the line. I think if he's allowed to become a master of a position and not just be a jack of all trades, I think he'll be more productive. But he's big, strong, fast. We didn't get to see him work out, but everything I've heard is that he should test fairly frequently when he finally does test.
I like it. And as a Ravens fan, I don't, but for the Steelers, I definitely do.
Thank you, sir. Who's on the clock now?
Lions.
The Lions. Okay, yeah.
Did we lose Matt? Lions should be. It must be Matt.
We lost his audio. That's what happened.
Yeah. Let's see what he's got here. He's got.
Put the plug back in, Matt. Plug it back in.
Yeah, Lions is him. So, and with how many damn picks they've got, I mean,
they have a lot of picks.
They've done a great job, man. And not only have they done a great job with accumulating picks, but it's who they've picked too. I just continue to be shocked at like Kirby Joseph, the way he produced last year for them.
Because you saw him play at Illinois, it didn't surprise you at all.
No, but the fact that nobody was talking about him at all, and then he's like the Aaron Rodgers, kryptonite.
Yes. So once again, the Haitian sensation, Kerry Joseph. And shout out to Lovie Smith. Now, I know some people don't love Lovie Smith maybe as a head coach, but he did an amazing job recruiting defensive backs to Illinois.
Exactly.
And then developing defensive backs.
Exactly. I mean, that's also, I think when people criticize someone like Lovie Smith, his coaching ability or whatever, it's like very short-sighted to me because there's so much of a separation between evaluation and analysis of a head coach versus a coordinator. Well, that often comes from people who have really no clue the amount of workload that it takes to be a coordinator. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Can you guys hear me now?
There we go.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I got an alert saying that my mic had disconnected from StreamYard. So, all right. So, who did you take with Pittsburgh?
Miles Murphy, defensive, some of everywhere. 5 tech, even out to 7 and 9 at times. 4i, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But we're gonna try to turn him into a real pass rusher in the NFL.
I think he's a great fit for them, man.
Yeah, because he can do a lot of different things. We like to, sometimes like to mix it up.
Right.
So guys move around.
He sounds like a Steeler to me. All right, so I'm next with the Detroit Lions, and since my mic went out, I'm gonna try to get this moving. We're gonna shake things up really here in Detroit, right? Like the fighting Dan Campbell's is ready to go and win a darn going championship. I feel like they have something they like at this position, but hey, why not trade something you like in for something you love? And Detroit Lions will select Bijan Robinson, running back, Texas.
Interesting.
It is an interesting pick.
Yeah.
But it gives them the ability to get what I call cheap big plays. That little angle route that normally would be, 7, 6, 5, 8 yards. That could be a 30, 40-yard play.
Absolutely. Something they thought they were going to get from Swift, they get it here. All right. The Bucks are up, and I believe that's me, right? Yep, I'm the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Bucks need everything. They need a quarterback, they need a tight end, they need a guard, a center, and D-line. They need everything. They could go running back here, right? They lost Leonard Fournette. They could go tight end here. But they have some really good receivers. I think they can probably find a tight end later. I'm just going to go.
They do like Cade Otton a lot.
Yeah, they do like Cade Otton. I'm going to go. They need someone that can disrupt in the middle of the field, and they merely missed Sue last year. I'm going to go Khalija Kancey, defensive tackle, Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna give them the most disruptive guy they've had in that middle since Warren Sapp. He won't be that. I'm not saying he's that guy, but they haven't had anyone in the middle since that.
Years.
Yeah,
a couple years.
Yeah. All right. So that leaves Coach. You're up with Seattle at pick 20.
Yeah, you're right when you say the Bucks need a little bit of everything. I'm gonna tell you what, putting yourself in the shoes of some of these GMs, I think your last pick was kind of easy. Yeah. This one's not for me for the Seahawks. I did watch a significant amount of Seahawks film this year, probably the fourth most, maybe fifth most team that I watched film of, and I certainly think that they can use anybody at DB. When I'm sitting there looking at Brian Branch and I keep seeing him, I'm like, where's he gonna get picked? It's tough. It's tough for me to see someone with that much talent. I don't think they need a tackle. This one's a tough one for me because it's difficult for me to pass on Brian Branch with their style of play and how consistent they are in coverage relationship and where they play leverage wise and how smart he is. I'm going to go with Brian Branch, even though that they need a guard more so than Brian Branch. It's just difficult for me to pass him up here.
They still have Jamal Adams too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they also have what's the guy they got from Detroit?
Oh,
the safety.
Oh, I can't remember his name.
I can't think his name. What's his name, Bill? Safety.
But I know Kobe Bryant is the other corner who forced 5 fumbles last year. He's talented too.
Yeah. So we're gonna go Brian Branch.
Yep.
The Seattle Seahawks. All right. The Chargers are on the clock, Bill, and that would be you, sir.
Yes. So this is actually a somewhat enviable position. They have they do have some needs. Their offensive line is not the world's best. Their defense, when healthy, is pretty good, but health has been an issue. Now, wait a second. Of the tackles, I know Skaronski's gone. Have you had any other tackles been taken?
Yes, and
I took Paris Johnson from Ohio State.
Yeah, that's right. Paris. Okay, so that was the two. We still
Broderick Jones is still there.
Right, we like Broderick Jones. Would we like him more than the next player we have rated on our board? You know what? We're moving on, as people might have heard. And once again, we thank him very much for his many years of service, Mr. Keenan Allen. So where can you find another smooth, middle of the field and 3-level guy? Jordan Addison from USC can do that. So welcome. In fact, I guess you can basically drive to a new home, Jordan Addison. You don't have to even get on a plane.
Wow. Jordan Addison goes one pick before the Baltimore Ravens, and Ravens flock lose their collective minds. But have no fear. We have a lot of options here. Deonte Banks is a guy who really lit up the combine, had a really great combine. The Ravens have not drafted a corner in the first round since Marlon Humphrey. So, but with JSN being gone, Quentin Johnson being gone, Jordan Addison being gone, I didn't even want to do this because, most people are going to say, oh, man, we knew you would do this. But to not take Zay Flowers here would just probably be negligent at this point. Because if they don't get a receiver here, with no second round pick, your top receiver could be not the option that you're looking for, right? We're going to go Zay Flowers, wide receiver, Boston College.
I think they have to, and I think that
in this situation they have to.
And I'm not one of those that like hyperventilates over the draft last year, to be honest with you. But I will say this: they've put themselves in a position where if the draft plays out kind of like it just has here, as pick 20 and pick 21 is approaching, there's going to be teams behind us that jump in front of us.
Yes.
To grab a Zay Flowers or a Jordan Addison. Why? Because they know we're going to have to make that decision that you just spoke through. We don't have another pick till 86. So I think it really means, 19, 20, 21, maybe even 18. Those teams are going to be getting calls about people trading up, depending on which receiver slides.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, because what are your options in third round, right? You might be looking at a Dante Demas, a Rakim Jarrett. You maybe a Jaden Reed. They need a difference maker. So we can go Zay Flowers. All right. Minnesota Vikings on the clock, and that belongs to you, Bill.
I got it. Yep. So this team was very good not that long ago, but life comes at you fast in the NFL. They are not quite in rebuild mode, but they're not as far from it as you might expect. They need to address their pass rush. They need to address their everything. Frankly, not everything, but I mean they're pretty good at wide receiver, and obviously got a really good running back. But there's a lot of places you could attack, and I think we're going to attack first of all. Once again, hey, it's a great time to need a corner, and they could use a corner. Cam Smith from South Carolina is now a Viking.
Great pick. I like that pick a lot. They really need a corner, and they were so upset last year because I think they were going to they really wanted Derek Stingley, and when he went top 5, they traded out. And they just was like, all right, we're out. We didn't get the guy we wanted. We're out. All right. I am on the clock now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jacksonville just got their receiver and Calvin Ridley, who just got off a suspension today.
Yep.
So that's great for them. They could use some interior offensive line. They can use a DB. I'm going to go best player available for them right now. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to select Deonte Banks, cornerback, Maryland.
Love it.
Nice.
That's a great pick for them.
Great corners.
Yes, great pick for them because they saw what Mahomes did to them in that playoff game, and I think they were like, okay, we need to shore the secondary up. We also need shorter offensive lineup. So, all right, New York Giants on the clock.
I think they're in a difficult situation, and this is not going to be a popular opinion. Of course, Brian, they did a great job there last year. Don't get me wrong. Like winning with a team, a roster that was not as talented as some of the teams they beat, including the Ravens. Having said that, in order to play in Wink's defense, the style that he generally wants to play, you need really good corners. You do. We have Marlon and Marcus Peters. Now, he didn't do as much of the crazy stuff last year with the Giants, all the twist stunts and as many of the not zone blitzes, but 6-man, cover zero blitzes. Having said that, I don't think they can go corner. I don't think they can go. I got them at 25, 57, and 89. And I think they've kind of pigeonholed themselves. They need to draft a position for man corners, in my opinion, in order to be really effective defensively, but they're not going to be able to do so. They got to draft receiver, and I think they need a center as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna go receiver here, and I'm gonna go with Josh Downs.
Oh, great pick. All right. So we're going to wrap up here soon. So let's go through these last couple. The Dallas Cowboys, that belongs to
it's either you or coach.
I don't think I have the Cowboys, but I can pick for them.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can take the Cowboys. I think I meant to send you the Cowboys, but I just forgot.
Yeah, we may have. It's that pick. I have a buddy of mine that works in media and DFW, and he's like, man, this is crazy how much focus there is on the Cowboys. It's constant for every single pick. In my opinion, they are always going to be an offensive line team, a team that needs strong offensive line. And I know Smith, still can play at a high level when he's healthy, but health has been a concern. I'm going to go tackle for them, even though I know they need a receiver. And I'm going to take Broderick Jones from Georgia.
Here we go.
That is a great pick for the
Cowboys. I could see that happening.
I actually could see that happening as well. All right, Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagons quite like the Buffalo Bills, right? Grew up hearing that slogan from my man, Chris Berman. I hope he is well. The Bills are occupied by... Did I not give anyone the Bills?
I'll take them if you don't have anybody assigned.
Yeah, no, take them.
Okay. So the Bills are about to lose one of their two super talented safeties, most likely Jordan Poyer. Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M, while he might not be quite the same kind of player, can give them some of the same things. He knows how to cover slot. He knows how to cover tight ends, and he's good against the run.
Perfect. All right. All 22. Coach, you got the Bengals. Sorry I had to give you the Bengals, but
No, man, I've watched a shit ton of film on the Bengals in the last 2 years, and if you watch my videos, and a lot of Ravens fans probably don't like it. I respect the hell out of them, and I love what they do on defense. Some of these rating services, man, they trip me out. I went after you sent us the list, I looked it up, and it was like they need an outside linebacker, edge player. What? Really?
No, they were.
Have you seen Joseph Asai? Now, Trey Hendrickson had health issues, so there's no way in hell I'm going there. As a Ravens fan, I would not want to see Bijan Robinson end up being available to them, because adding that kind of talent to the receiver talent they have, I think would be terrible to deal with. It seems like they always need offensive line help. And I don't know why that is. I'm going to take DeJuan Jones from Ohio State. I know certain people are not as high on him as others. And in a lot of mocks I see he gets drafted a little bit later. I think the Bengals have got to move away from some of the guys they brought in. Yeah. And even though they brought in La'el Collins and they got him under contract, I guess, for next year, I think they got to commit to someone who's young and isn't going to impact their salary when they decide to sign Joe Burrow, whenever that is. So going rookie there, in my opinion, getting the 4-year low salary is the way to go.
That's a great pick.
Great pick. Can play inside, so
right. That's a great pick. DeJuan Jones, staying in the state of Ohio. All right, Coach, you're back up again with the Saints, and then we got
This is such a difficult one for me because I have no idea what the hell the Saints are doing. I don't know that someone in my Discord, said it today. They were like, well, Derek Carr is an improvement over Andy Dalton. Yeah, but is he an improvement that I want to pay $38 million a year for?
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that they really know what they're doing for real, to be honest with you. I'm going to take Lucas Van Ness from Iowa, even though I think there's some evidence that he's more of a 5 technique guy.
Yeah, Thank you.
Yeah,
then
that's a great pick.
but I think sometimes those guys can be like, if especially the 12 personnel teams like the Titans in their heyday under Henry, you take that badass 6'6", 265, 270 DN and you put him in a tight end space, and the strong side run game is over. So Lucas Van Ness, I think, provides them a little bit of versatility. But I don't pretend to know that that's the route that they would go, to be honest with you.
He's like them getting their Trey Hendrickson back. So
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Bill.
Yep.
You got the Eagles.
So it's fun, right? When you can sort of just play with house money. We're thrilled to see O'Cyrus Torrence still available. We're about to mash some people. So a dominant run game gets more dominant. Get yourself a face full of that, kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a great pick.
Torrence to the Eagles. All right, and I'm going to close out this mock draft with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. And talk about playing with house money. I mean, you win a Super Bowl and you just have the world at your fingers and you can take whoever you want. So with that said, I just saw something that they're going to be moving on from Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year.
Finally.
Yes. They did make they struck gold with Pacheco. He gives them that power downhill. They got all I think they could get out of Jerick McKinnon. So the Kansas City Chiefs are going to close out the first round with Jahmyr Gibbs, running back, Alabama.
That's a good pick, man. I like that.
Yep. I could see that.
All right. So fellas, that was an awesome mock draft. I actually can see a lot of those things happening. It's a mock draft that has a lot of logic to it, right? We've seen some that doesn't have quite, too much logic to it, but that was a great mock draft. So again, I know it's dinner time on the East Coast. So
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you guys again for coming on the show. And I look forward to speaking to you guys again soon here on the podcast as well as on Twitter Spaces.
Coach, real quick, give me your handle again because I'm going to follow you.
So my YouTube and Twitter front name is All22 Films, but on Twitter itself, like the actual address is like all_22_ NFL_ cuts. You see how weird and awkward that is. So
got it.
So I got to figure out a way to change that. Excuse me. Appreciate that though.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
You guys do a great job, man. All the spaces that you invite people to, Matt. I don't know if you invite a lot of people, but if you haven't gone into the space when Matt and Bill and other people talk, draft stuff, you should if he invites you, because it's all class and opinions are respected. There's nobody in there that's like just, stark thinking, oh, you're wrong about this. People give their opinion and Matt keeps it moving and other people help moderate it. So just a shout out for you guys that do that, because I think it's kind of unique.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Again, you can reach out to my boy, All22 Films. He's on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle again, Coach?
Just type in All22 Films. That'd probably be the easiest way for me to say it. Tell somebody, help me out. Help me figure out how to change the handle. There you go.
There you go. Just type in All22 Films and you'll see. And then my man Bill is at is it 11 Bravo?
Yeah, ELEVENBRAVO 138. Yep.
All right. I mean, hey, if you like what you saw, man, continue to like, subscribe, and follow CFB Nation. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, always a pleasure.